Hello, this is Meghnad and you're watching Sansad Watch, where we tell you what the leaders you elected have been doing for you. You know, like putting up controversial advertisements in newspapers. Here's one from Republic Day in 2015. So, ignore the smiling faces and put your nerd glasses on. Zoom in and look at the background. It's the preamble of our constitution, but with one major difference. Two words, secular and socialist, are missing. Now, some keen constitutionalists noticed this and screamed, "Conspiracy! BJP wants to remove the word secular from the constitution." Ravi Shankar Prasad, our ex-Minister of Information and Broadcasting, defended this ad and called for a debate on the use of the word secular. From 2015 to now, we have come kind of full circle. This debate is popping up again. Chief Ministers of Himachal Pradesh and Assam want to bring in the Uniform Civil Code. In Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, the state governments have been making noises, and in Madhya Pradesh, Amit Shah told his party people to focus on UCC. On top of all of this, there are instances of rising communal violence.
इस दौरान जामा मस्जिद के बाहर पथराव और आगजनी में आम लोगों के साथ 8 पुलिसकर्मी घायल हो गए थे।
The police once again launched a crackdown on these anti-social elements and resorted to a lathi charge.
In Madhya Pradesh's Khargon, a curfew has been imposed in 3 areas in Section 144 in the entire city after a Ram Navami procession. Vehicles were set on fire and police fired tear gas shells to control the situation. Some policemen were also injured.
All of this has one thing, one idea, one concept at the center of it: secularism. Over the years, the meaning of the word secular has changed quite dramatically. So before we ask ourselves, is our society secular right now? We really need to dig deep to understand secularism itself. I'm going to do that with a little help from these documents we pulled out all the way from 1947 onwards, and a friend, her. Right at the get-go, engrave this in your head. The definition of secularism is elastic. Meaning, people interpret secularism in different ways and in different situations. So, the only real way to understand what this word means is to look at all the definitions over the years. Let's begin with Chapter 1, the Constituent Assembly Debates. During the Constituent Assembly debates, there were 3 major threads that emerged when it comes to defining secularism. First up, here is what Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan said in the Constituent Assembly on the 20th of January 1947. Allenby's liberating campaigns in Egypt, Lawrence's adventures in Arabia, Kemal Pasha's defiant creation of a secular Turkey point out that the days of religious states are over. These are the days of nationalism. The Hindus and Muslims have lived together in this country for over 1,000 years. They belong to the same land, speak the same language. They have the same racial ancestry. They have a common destiny to work for. He's from the no concern secularism camp. No concern. Dr. Radhakrishnan argued that the constitution should look at people as citizens first before their religious identities. That religion is a private affair and should be relegated to the private sphere. Instead, he wanted religion to be replaced by a feeling of Deshbhakti and nationalism. Okay, here is what Loknath Mishra said on 6th of December 1948. Do we really believe that religion can be divorced from life? Or is it our belief that in the midst of many religions, we cannot decide which one to accept? If religion is beyond the ken of our state, let us clearly say so and delete all reference to rights relating to religion. If we find it necessary, let us be brave enough and say what it should be. S. Nagappa says, the honorable member is reading too fast and we are not able to follow him. No, that is really text from Constituent Assembly debates, guys. I'm not making this up. He's from the completely cut off secularism camp. Loknath Mishra wanted India to follow secularism in its purest form and draw a big fat boundary wall between religion and government. This was an extreme view that argued that the constitution should have zero things to do with religion because it would lead to changes dictated by the whims of the majority. Okay, here is K.M. Munshi on the 23rd of November 1948. The House has already accepted the principle that if a religious practice followed so far covers a secular activity or falls within the field of social reform or social welfare, it would be open to Parliament to make laws about it without infringing this fundamental right of a minority. He further says, after all, we are an advancing society. We are in a stage where we must unify and consolidate the nation by every means without interfering with religious practice. If, however, the religious practices in the past have been so construed as to cover the whole field of life, we have reached a point when we must put our foot down and say that these matters are not religion, they are purely matters for secular legislation. He's from the equal respect secularism camp. Munshiji believed that it was important for the government to intervene in matters of religion to ensure that no person is discriminated against and that there is a level playing field for everyone. This group argued that since religion is important in India, the state shouldn't merely distance itself from all religions. Instead, it should respect all religions alike and should strive to achieve equality. So, in this arena of ideas, the main debate was between the first and the third camp. Ultimately, our mothers and fathers of the constitution came to a conclusion that India would be a country where there would be a right to religion. People of all faiths will be able to practice their religion freely without discrimination and interference. But with two exceptions. One, the state will have a right to intervene whenever regressive religious practices are being followed, like sati. And two, the state can also intervene to make sure all minorities are represented equally and provide social justice, like reservations. After all the back and forth, there was one specific thing that the constitution makers agreed not to do. And that is to include the actual word secular in the book, anywhere. Why, you ask? Well, look at this. So, on 15th November 1948, Professor K.T. Shah wanted to put in this amendment. That in clause 1 of Article 1, after the words shall be the words secular federal socialist be inserted. Which means it would read India shall be a secular federal socialist union of states. This would be in the preamble of the constitution. But that was denied, and here is what he said when putting in the amendment. We have been told time and again from every platform that ours is a secular state. If that is true, if that holds good, I do not see why the term could not be added or inserted in the constitution itself. Once again, to guard against any possibility of misunderstanding or misapprehension. Now, the person who opposed it was none other than Babasaheb Ambedkar. Here's what he said. Sir, I regret that I cannot accept the amendment of Professor K.T. Shah. What should be the policy of the state, how the society should be organized in its social and economic side are matters which must be decided by the people themselves according to the time and circumstances. If you state in the constitution that the social organization of the state shall take a particular form, you are, in my judgment, his judgment, taking away the liberty of the people to decide what should be the social organization in which they wish to live. That is why he did not want the word secular in our preamble. Moreover, Ambedkar was sure that since equality before law and the freedom to profess any religion has been laid down in the constitution, the word secular wasn't really required in the preamble. Yes, Dr. Ambedkar did not want secular to be included in the constitution. But that was changed by our OG dictator/iron lady, Indira Gandhi. So chapter 2, it's an emergency. In 1971, Indian National Congress requisitionists yes, that was a party led by Indira Gandhi, won the elections and she became the first female Prime Minister of India. 5 years later, her rival Raj Naren alleged that she won in 1971 because her party indulged in manipulation and malpractice. So the Allahabad High Court declared the election invalid. Gandhi took it to Supreme Court. The top court stayed the High Court order but put some restrictions on Gandhi as the Prime Minister. Indira Gandhi was like, nah, you can't put no restrictions on me. I'm a stallion, I'm a unicorn, and I'm the greatest leader ever. And she declared an emergency in 1975. Next up, she started running a pseudo-dictatorial parliament which was making changes to the law left, right, center. One of the big changes she made was to the preamble. Here is the Constitution 42nd Amendment Act 1976. It says in the preamble of the Constitution, for the words Sovereign Democratic Republic, the words Sovereign Socialist Secular Democratic Republic shall be substituted. Socialist and secular are new words. This is when the definition of secularism changed all over again. A committee called the Swaran Singh Committee was set up which recommended the addition of secular in the constitution. Here's the reasoning Swaran Singh gave for the word secular in the constitution. I think both these words, here secular and integrity, appear to be just two words, but the meaning behind them is a very vital for our country to grow from strength to strength and to remain united and a strong nation. So far as secularism is concerned, I would at the very outset clarify that our secularism is not synonymous with the dictionary meaning of this word secular. But secular now is a word which I think has become a part of Indian language. You may go to the Punjab or to Gujarat, even to the south. When they make speeches in their own languages, they always use the word secular. Not only that, but more than that, there is no connotational element of any anti-religious feeling, but it is really respect for all religions. It is this concept which is broadly accepted by our country as a whole, and therefore we thought it necessary that it should find a place and pride in our preamble, and we are adding that as an amendment. Place of pride in our preamble. This is where the idea came in that secularism should be a basic principle which needs to be explicit when defining India as a democracy. After it was put in, this was never changed back to the original preamble because the Supreme Court put a lock on making any changes after a famous case called the Kesavananda Bharti versus the state of Kerala. With that, the word secular became a part of our constitution forever. Or wait, is it forever? Which brings us to the next part, when the idea of secularism was actually applied in real life. And this challenge was led by a Muslim woman. Chapter 3, the Shabano case. Remember when I told you a few minutes ago about how the state can intervene in religion when it comes to regressive practices? Well, this was put to a test by a 62-year-old woman called Shabano. In April 1978, Shabano was given a divorce by her husband Muhammad Ahmad Khan. She demanded maintenance for her and her 5 children. Khan contested this and said no, because Muslim personal law only requires maintenance to be paid for the iddat period, which is about 3 months long. The Supreme Court gave a landmark judgment in this case and asked Khan to give maintenance to Shabano. This is what the court said in the Shabano case. Under section 125(1)(a), a person who, having sufficient means, neglects or refuses to maintain his wife who is unable to maintain herself can be asked by the court to pay a monthly maintenance. Whether the spouses are Hindus or Muslims, Christians or Parsis, pagans or heathens is wholly irrelevant in the application of these provisions. Such provisions, which are essentially of prophylactic nature, cut across the barriers of religion. True that they do not supplant the personal law of the parties, but equally the religion professed by the parties or the state of the personal law by which they are governed cannot have any repercussion on the applicability of such laws unless within the framework of the Constitution. Section 125(1), which defines wife as excluding a divorced wife, contains no words of limitation to justify the exclusion of Muslim women from its scope. Section 125 is truly secular in character. This was a landmark case because it was a major instance of the state genuinely exercising the values of secularism and intervening in religious practices to provide justice for Muslim women. Here, secularism was not just considered as a theoretical wishy-washy value that we have to just abide by, but an actual concept that must be applied to make it real. All of this happened again more recently, and the parliament was the one to do it. You must have heard about this one. Chapter 4, Triple Talaq. In August 2017, the Supreme Court declared the practice of talaq-e-biddat, which is the Muslim practice of giving a divorce by saying talaq, 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 as unconstitutional. But here they said that the ball is in the parliament's court to decide whether to make a law around it. Immediately after that, the Modi government brought the Muslim Women Protection of Rights of Marriage Bill 2017 in Parliament. After a lot of debate and discussion, that bill was finally passed by Parliament in 2019. Here's what the bill said. Here is the Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Bill 2019. Okay, hot tip for you. If you want to find out what a bill is all about, ignore this legal language and go to the statement of objects and reasons, which will be at the end of the bill. It says, the aforesaid bill proposed to declare the practice of triple talaq as void and illegal and made it an offence punishable with imprisonment of up to 3 years and fine, to provide subsistence allowance to married Muslim women and dependent children, and also for the custody of minor children. It further says, the legislation would help in ensuring the larger constitutional goals of gender justice and gender equality of married Muslim women and help subserve their fundamental rights of non-discrimination and empowerment. Ravi Shankar Prasad. Now we have come to a point where the elected leaders of our nation are taking an active role in redefining the word secular. As the voices for the Uniform Civil Code get louder, we should expect nuanced debate and discussion on the matter, right? Like it happened during the making of our constitution, like it happened during our emergency. Wait, like it happened during Shabano? Or did it happen during triple talaq? Did a debate really happen? Well, we know now that the job of debating has been handed over to loudmouths with extremist views on television. But we are not going to let that happen. Say hello to Arshia Khan, a political science PhD student. I met her in Varanasi when I was covering the elections and struck up a conversation with her about what she thinks secularism means, how she looks at her own religion, Islam, and India as a whole. In simple words, I'm going to let her be the sane, intelligent, palate cleanser voice while you consume garbage TV news. Now watch. What is India for you?
जब हम जन्म लेते हैं, सबसे पहले हम अपने परिवार को देखते हैं, ठीक है, और वो परिवार हमें बहुत कुछ देता है, हर तरह से देता है, तो उसके लिए मेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बन जाती है. मेरे लिए राष्ट्र प्रेम यही है कि भारत के लोग मेरे लिए, मैं भारत के लोगों के लिए कुछ, मेरे उनसे मानवीय संबंध है. मैं उस एक देश के टुकड़े से ज़्यादा वहाँ के जो रहने वाले लोग हैं, मेरे लिए वो ज़रूरी है.
I just want to ask once again, is there one group of people in India who live on advocating the breakup of the country and almost revel in doing this tukde, right? On the lines of nationalism, caste and creed. Do the same names come up, the same circle comes up whose agenda is simply to divide?
स्वतंत्रता से ज़्यादा, स्वतंत्रता तो इम्पोर्टेंट है, वो तो हम उसके लिए इतना लड़े हैं, तो वो तो बहुत मुश्किल से नहीं, लेकिन समानता हमें लगती है सबसे ज़रूरी. और जो एक विभेदीकृत समानता है कि सिर्फ ऐसा नहीं है कि सबको समान अधिकार, एक महिला होने के नाते आपको थोड़ी अलग प्रायोरिटी दी जाएगी. आप एक स्पेशल कास्ट जिसके साथ हमेशा से कुछ बुरा हो रहा था, अगर उसको प्रायोरिटी दी जा रही, तो मेरे लिए ये समानता बहुत, मेरे लिए समानता के मायने है कि जिसको जो जरूरत है उस हिसाब से समानता दी जाए, ना कि सबको समान कर दिया जाए.
In the Islamic world, Muslims are anyway superior to other religious minorities, but in non-Islamic countries too, they want special treatment as minority, while at the same time wanting secularism. How is it that no other minorities have a problem with UCC and only Muslim bodies?
विश्व गुरु का मतलब ही हो गया कि देखिए, एक जो डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज हैं तो हमें तो उनके बराबर जाना था, लेकिन हमने कभी नहीं देखा कि भारत की तुलना अमेरिका से हो, चाइना से हो, रशिया से हो. हमेशा पाकिस्तान से, अफगानिस्तान से, सीरिया से और किससे जो भी मतलब डेमोक्रेसी का जहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा खिलवाड़ हो रहा है, जहाँ पे मतलब हर तरह से जहाँ बहुत छोटे देश है जो अभी विकासशील देश हैं उनसे तुलना कर रहे हो आप। और मीडिया हमेशा ये करके भारत को बेहतर दिखाने की कोशिश करती है।
मुसलमान अमेरिका में भी खुश नहीं है, आज स्वीडन में भी लड़ाई चल रही है, मुसलमान स्वीडन में भी खुश नहीं है, मुसलमान चाइना में भी प्रताड़ित है, मुसलमान रशिया में भी खुश नहीं है। वो केवल खुश वहीं हैं जहां वो नहीं है, बाकी हर जगह वो प्रताड़ित हैं, उनके ऊपर हम अटैक कर रहे हैं, उनको मारा जा रहा है। ये नैरेटिव इन जैसे कुछ तथाकथित स्कॉलर्स ने अपने फायदे के लिए बनाया हुआ।
आप अगर बोलोगे मैं बेहतर नहीं महसूस कर रही हूँ तो आपको सीधे कहेंगे तुम जाओ कि इस्लामिक कंट्री में। मैं इस्लामिक कंट्री में क्यों जाके देखूँ, मेरी कंट्री नहीं है। आप मुझे सिर्फ मुस्लिम होने के नाते ये क्यों समझते हैं कि मैं पूरे इस्लामिक कंट्री की अगुवाई मैं नहीं कर रही हूँ, मैं भारत की कर रही हूँ। मैं भारत की हूँ और भारत में जो गड़बड़ी होगी मैं उस पर बात करूंगी ना।
ये एक बहुत ही खतरनाक स्थिति है जहां एक खास विचारधारा वाले लोग स्कूली बच्चों में भी धार्मिक कट्टरवाद पैदा कर रहे हैं। अब जरा कल्पना कीजिए कि अगर देश की पाठशालाएं धर्म की प्रयोगशालाएं बन गईं तो हमारे समाज में कितना बड़ा विस्फोट होगा।
आसपास के लोगों को जैसे ये लगने लगता है कि तुम मुस्लिम हो तो एक होता है ना जैसे देशभक्ति पे ही सवाल खड़ा कर देना कि तुम लोग क्या मतलब गारंटी है कि तुम लोग भारत के लिए इतने ही लॉयल हो जितने हम लोग हो सकते हैं। लोगों को ये भी लगता है।
आप अपने बच्चे के लिए जो दूध खरीद रहे हैं उसका एक हिस्सा कोई जिहादी सांप को तो नहीं पिला रहे हैं। आप जो सामान खरीद रहे हैं उसका पैसा भी हिंदुस्तान तोड़ने के लिए तो नहीं जा रहा है। क्या दुनिया भर के मुसलमानों ने भारतीय उद्योगों पर कब्जे का प्लान बनाया है?
हम लोग अब डिवाइड हो गए, हमारे लोग और अपने लोग में, हमारे लोग और उनके लोग। अब हम लोग कुछ और लोग हो गए हैं और वो लोग कुछ और लोग हो गए हैं। और ये किसके द्वारा हुआ है? मीडिया के द्वारा फैलाई गई ये जो भी थी।
What does Hindustan mean? Doesn't it mean the place for Hindus? What does Hindu Rashtra mean? Doesn't it mean the Rashtra or nation for Hindus?
मीडिया मुझे लगता है कि अपना एक जो कर्तव्य होता है कितनी बुरी तरह से भूल गया है। मतलब एक इंसान होने के नाते अब कितनी कीमत लेने के बाद किसी इंसान की जान की कीमत को भूल जा रहे हो।
Folks, if you want to stop this nonsense on television, there is only one way for you to do it. Pay to keep news free. Subscribe and support independent journalism by going to newslaundry.com, clicking on the subscribe button and paying for good journalism. If you want more shows like this, go do it now so that you get all the research. That's all I have for you in this week's Sansad Watch. I know you have been having many debates with your friends and family about religion, society, and what you think about it. So show them this episode, so hopefully they'll understand what secularism really means. Because remember, if you want to make Parliament great again, you need to watch it first. Thank you so much guys for watching this episode of Sansad Watch. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something from it, and I hope you like all the things that we told you. I have a few announcements. We have 2 NL Sena projects up. If you really want to support good journalism, I think you should check these 2 projects out and also contribute to make them possible. And Abhinandan is going to London here on this date, and Manisha is going to Australia for these 2 days. There they will be doing a subscriber meetup. So if you are a subscriber and in any of these places, you can hit them up on this email and then you can join their meeting and also meet them. So see you there, I guess. I mean, I won't be there, they will be there. Sad. But anyway, thank you for watching and keep supporting us. Keep subscribing to News Laundry and pay to keep news free.
The subscription model is something that keeps News Laundry afloat, but we need hundreds of thousands of people to completely transform the news ecosystem. So you pay for news, so it serves you. So click on the link with this video, subscribe to News Laundry and pay to keep news free, और गर्व से कहो, मेरे खर्च पर आज़ाद है खबरें।